Hi, good morning, welcome to the Inside Story. Today I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Bob Champion, MBE. Those of you who have been under a rock and don't know who Bob is, he was a Grand National winner and is a cancer charity. Well, he has his own cancer charity. So good morning, Bob. Thanks for joining me.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm really good. How are you?
That's better. You're still locked up?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Although I don't mind, you know me, I like being locked in my own space. But yeah, it's getting a bit rough now.
No, I hate it when I'm about.
You like being out and about, don't you?
Oh, I love being out and about. That's me. I suppose all my life as a jockey, we were a different place every day, and racing is all over the country, all over the world. So, I miss the travelling, but I do a little bit still. Well,
last time I saw you, you were doing around about 1,000 miles a week up and down the country for the trust. So that must have...
it wasn't 1,000 miles a week.
Yeah,
it was 1,000 over lockdown. It was roughly between 9 and 13 miles I did a day, every day. And ran the gallops here in Newmarket, so I was breaking no rules. I live on the edge of the gallops, so the gallops are my garden, actually. So it came to about over 1,000 miles, actually, but had to do something or I'd have gone mental.
So did you actually do that on behalf of the trust?
Yes, we did in the end. People paid to walk the last day with me, and it raised quite a bit of money, actually. So, it was well worth doing, but I promise you, it kept me sane, going out every morning and every afternoon and every night. Did 3 a day, actually, and Tomo helped. He came along quite a lot, and, it was good fun.
Because when I meant 1,000, I meant you were driving 1,000 miles a week, going to and from your events that you do for the trust. So you go to different racing grounds and different promotions, and then suddenly you're grounded. So
you're right there, actually. As you know, I did about 1,000 miles a week going all over the country, and then being grounded saved a lot of money on diesel. I promise you that, but that's about the only good thing about it.
I know. I can't. I imagine you'd have been like a caged animal. It's not for you. So let's go wind back a little bit. So we did the book 3 years ago.
Yeah.
3. So what made you decide you wanted to bring it up to date? Because you'd had the first book, which was the biography that led up to the end of the Grand National. What made you decide you wanted to refresh it?
I think a lot has happened after I won the National on the first book. And the first book was just up to the National. And I thought, well, we've got the Cancer Trust and everything else I've done since then. I thought it might make a story. And really, I did it really to promote the Cancer Trust. I'll be honest about that. And I think it did a very good job. Had somebody very good that wrote it, well, put it into English anyway. If I'd done it myself, it would have been a very short book with a lot of spelling mistakes.
So how did you find going back over the stories? Did you find that it was a really happy thing to do, that it reminded you of things that you might not necessarily have thought about, or did you find it difficult at times?
Well, I found it difficult remembering some of the things, to be honest, but, it brought back a lot of good memories. And, I've been fortunate. I've travelled around the world with a film and everything, and all over this country, all for a good cause, I think, anyway, the Bob Champion Cancer Trust. And, a little bit about my training. I trained a few years. And everything in my life after. And I love the way it was written in a way, because it was me looking back on my life. I felt that was important, actually, to me anyway, just looking back. And, the first book, which was absolutely terrific, was basically going day to day, but this was looking back, and I think the writer did quite a good job there.
I'll be pleased to tell her. So let's just go. We'll do a really quick history, because I don't imagine there's very many people that don't know who you are. But so you had testicular cancer back in 1979, correct? My dates?
That's correct, actually. Those days, testicular cancer was a killer. The majority of people died of it. It wasn't until about 79 that they virtually had a bit of a cure. It was called the Einhorn treatment, and it was platinum, bleomycin, and vinblastine pumped into you for 7 days, and then you'd have a couple of days off, pumped into you again on the 9th day, pumped into again on the 15th day, if your blood was strong enough to take it. And then the 21st day, they'd hit you again with it for another 7 days. And you were basically just about alive, actually, when they were doing it. They gave me a 30% chance of living then, because the treatment was so new. And, it wasn't good for my lung capacity. The drugs were destroying that. It was very hard to get fit after. I lost a lot of weight. Thought I might make a flat jockey then, but I put weight on after. But, it was a hard treatment, but it did work. But now they've brought out better treatments, which is less toxic, less side effects. And testicular cancer in itself is about 95% curable, long as it's caught early enough. And if you leave it too late, fair enough, your chances aren't so good. But that's the same thing with all illnesses, actually, all cancers. The earlier they get it, the better chance you've got. So, basically, that's why I'm trying to promote people. If there's something wrong, go and see a doctor. Think of your body, and that's why I'm doing the for Monty. That is to basically get people to think of their bodies, men and women.
So I'll come back to the full Monty, but so at the point where you were diagnosed, you were the fittest you'd ever been. You were having the absolute highlight of your career, really. You were top jump jockey. You were doing phenomenally well. So for you, it was an absolute bolt out of the blue, and I think that's the thing particularly with men. You didn't feel ill. There wasn't any signs that anything was wrong. You were still doing everything that you were doing. You were riding. So it's not always really, really obvious there's a problem. It was only the one symptom with you, which you'd initially put down to a stray hoof somewhere where you didn't want one. So, I think the message that you're putting out to people is even if there's the smallest thing that just doesn't feel quite right, get it checked out.
Oh, I agree with you. And I know things are pretty hard at the moment with these lockdowns. The thing that worries me that in a couple of years, people who've missed their mammograms, their checkups and everything, I personally think, and I think you're reading now about in the papers and the doctors are saying that, in a couple of years' time, there's going to be an awful lot more deaths that shouldn't have actually happened if we hadn't had this virus. But this virus has come along and it has stopped people having all the tests, which is a shame, really. But I can see the point of view of the doctors, nurses, hospitals. But hopefully I'm going to be wrong, but I have a feeling I might be a little bit right.
So you came out of your treatment, and you, all the way through it, you had this dream. You were going to win the national, and you were going to win the national on Olden 80. That was the thing that kept you going. And I know the conversations we've had, and you said the importance of having something to hold on to, something to make you get up in the morning, to make you push yourself through the darkest moments. And in a way, I think that's possibly reflected again with what's happening now. Is, so many people are struggling. People's mental health is hit by being in lockdown. Do you think that having that one thing, that one dream, was the key thing for you to getting through?
I think it helped an awful lot. I think, if you're going through bad times, not just illnesses, I think having a goal at the end of it. And I thought about giving up 2 or 3 times, I must admit. I remember one day I was packing up and the nurse said, leave the cannula in and go and have a walk. And I ended up walking around the children's ward. They were having cancer treatments like myself, and they weren't making a bit of a fuss about it. They were just getting on with it. And I was ashamed of myself, I must admit, and went back and started the treatment. But, as I said before, the treatment was very barbaric those days. And, it was, could catch septicemia, which I did a couple of times. And that's a bigger killer than the cancer. And thankfully, they got me back to the hospital with a half an hour to spare, changed my blood, and managed to survive it. But, things like that people forget. It's not just the treatment, it's the side effects as well, what you can pick up. Your body is at the lowest ebb it can be.
So you did it, and you being you, didn't go, right, okay, I've overcome cancer, I'm going to ease back into my life. You said, no, I'm going to win the Grand National on Aldeneti. Now, Aldeneti, bless him, at that point wasn't particularly well, was he? He'd had an injury and was confined to rest. So it was a difficult time for you both.
Oh, it was difficult. He broke down very badly when I was having treatment. The only time he ran when I was having treatment. And the vets wanted to put him down. But Mrs. Embricos and Nick Embricos, the horse's owner, always remembered I said he'd win a Grand National one day. And so they gave him a chance. But he was a marvellous patient. He was stood in a box tied up for 6 months in plaster. Now, that would send anybody absolutely crazy, never mind a horse. But he was a terrific patient and came out, and they did all the road work with him. And then he went back to Josh Gifford's January the 1st, 1981. And the rest is history, I suppose.
So you won the national, it was absolutely brilliant. And then suddenly everybody sent you, well, everybody, but thousands of people sent you their winnings. And you decided at that point, we've got a huge pot of money here, well, what can we do with it? And you, over a period of a couple of years, you created the Bob Champion Cancer Trust. You never, in your wildest dreams, imagined it would become the success that it is today.
No, I never did. It wasn't just me. It was Professor Peckham, my doctor, and Nick Embricos, the horse's owner, came up with the idea of the Bob Champion Cancer Trust. Because we had quite a lot of money sent in, we had to do something useful with it. And so we basically thought, well, we'll get involved with the testicular side in the first place. And we were very successful with it, I must admit. And then, we're still involved with testicular cancer, but now we're more involved with prostate cancer. And it's not a very nice thing to say, about 1 in 3 or 4 men are going to get prostate cancer. So we've basically concentrating on that. And we've got the 2 research laboratories, the one in London at Sutton, which we built at the Royal Marsden. And now we built the one at Norwich, and that's the bee's knees. Professor Colin Cooper, who headed our unit up in London, has moved up to Norwich because he thinks that's the place to be.
Yeah. So, I remember saying to you that in 2000, as you said, if we catch it early enough, they've pretty much eradicated death from testicular cancer, which would have been a point there where you could have said, I've done what I set out to do. My aim was to make more people aware of it. My aim was to get more money towards research to curing it. I've done that. I can retire. and you went, no, that's not for me. What else can we do? So you focus now on, as you said, prostate cancer. The last time we spoke, I think you said that they were making quite a few sort of roadways into ways that they could identify it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there are 3 different types of prostate cancer. There's the one where it's
3 different stages. Some basically you've got all genes are the thing they're talking about now, and I suppose scientists know what they're talking about. Scientists really are mathematics. It's down to mathematics in a way. It's a funny thing to say, but it doesn't seem to be Bunsen burners anymore. It seems to be computers, mathematics, and that type of thing, and genos, as Colin talks about. And, he basically, some people have different genes, and the early signs of prostate, they took genes from about 5,000 men. I don't know how you take a gene from a man, don't ask me. And they threw all those genes up in the air. And they came down in 3 patterns. One, the biggest pattern, had the early signs of prostate. And then the middle one, basically, that needs a bit of treatment. And then the smaller one, that needs serious treatment. And they realized the first stage, the bigger stage, doesn't need any treatment. That person is going to live a normal life, die of a heart attack, old age, or the wife kill him, or, basically. And at the moment, we've been trying to treat that, which is putting men through things they shouldn't have gone through. And so basically, that will save billions throughout the world. And then we can concentrate on the other 2. And so that'll be, that is a major breakthrough for us. And also, we're trying to do it, and we're virtually there now. With a simple urine test, we'll be able to say which stage it is. And, basically, it's going to put men's minds at rest, and the doctors are going to find it easier to get on with the job. And that is a very important breakthrough, I think.
So, it's an amazing legacy, Bob. When you look at the things that you've achieved, when we talked about some of the stories and some of the things that you've done on behalf of the trust and the way that you've raised money, you've had some incredible adventures. When you stop and you look back and you say, you've got to a point now where you've eradicated death from testicular cancer, and you could now very soon identify prostate cancer from a simple urine test. That's an amazing thing for you to be able to say, I was part of that. Looking back, what do you think has been, perhaps for you, the most memorable moment, other than obviously winning the national?
Apart from winning the national, I think the most, there's 2 memorable moments actually. The opening of the Norwich Centre, that meant so much, not because it's got my name on it or anything like that. I know the good work it's done. And I suppose on the other side, the TV side type of thing, winning the Helen Rollason Award, that meant an awful lot to me, I must admit, because it wasn't just for being a sportsman, it's been a bit of everything for what I put in. And that meant so much to me the day I went up to receive it. It was unbelievable, and I'll never forget it.
You've met some incredible people in your life, but I remember remind me of the story of meeting Muhammad Ali.
Yes, I was at the Sportsman of the Year Awards. Wasn't getting an award, I was a guest there. And I can never forget it, the atmosphere for him. And, basically, I was allowed to shake his hand, what an honour, but, he wouldn't have known who I was for anything. But being in that room with him was I'll never forget it. It puts shivers down my back, I promise you. What a man, what a talent. And I've never seen people so much in awe of anybody like him.
Yeah. I mean, he was just so inspirational, wasn't he? There was just something about him. So, I mean, so we've got to touch on your MBE. So you were honoured by the Queen. What was that like?
You've got it now, the cough. Yes, I was very fortunate. I got an MBE, which to me, is a great honour, I must admit, and I'm so proud of it, and been very lucky to get one.
I don't know about lucky. I mean, you graft. You don't. It's not like you've done one thing. You just continue to work. So you're still going now. You're still doing things on behalf of the trust. So, I mean, at the time that I've known you, you've done the real Marigold Hotel, which for you was a kind of a struggle because you don't like curry, do you? I think we're okay in saying that now. You don't like curry. So I
hate curry. And if you're having it 3 meals a day, you'd hate it even more.
So I mean, that I know when we were writing, that was where you were off there. Again, you made the best of what was not an easy situation, but you made some really good friends, and it looked like you were having a blast. So what did you take from that one?
I really enjoyed it. Everybody got on really well, I must admit. That was a good part of it, and I don't think the TV production company liked us getting on too well, but we weren't going to change because we actually did like one another. Maybe they wanted a few fights or something or other, but we just buckled down, and often we used to split up and go to different things to film. But it was fun. We got on well, and went back and had dinner in the evening, curry as normal, and basically, they'd still be filming us at dinner at night, and then as soon as they left, we had a good evening. We could be ourselves. So
are you still doing your yoga?
If you ever mention that word again, I'll shoot you. Oh, God. Sid Little and I could not move after it. And he was a young teacher, about 20, thinking 3. And we were doing it for an hour and a half. Neither of us could move that next day. It was agony.
Well, that leads me nicely into right now. You're prepping for the full Monty. We can't talk about exactly what you're doing, but now when you started doing your walks, I did wonder why you were starting to get fit, and I've been following your progress on Facebook, and you lost, was it 2 stone in the end?
Yeah, getting on for about 2 stone I've lost. But actually the walk had nothing to do with the full Monty because I knew nothing about it. So I was only booked virtually after I'd finished my walking. So that had nothing to do with it. The reason I did the walking was basically I was getting a little bit heavy, and I kept reading that if you're too heavy, you most likely die of this virus. And I thought, well, I want to live. I better lose weight. And you couldn't go to the gym or anything like that. So I thought, well, I'll go walking. And I thought, well, I'll walk 100 miles. And then I got to 100 miles. And then I thought, I'll go to 500 miles. That was that song, I've walked 500 miles. I forget who sang it. So I thought about that. When I got to the 500 miles, I thought, well, let's get back to the 1,000 miles. And that's how it came about. And, it worked out as we came out of lockdown. I'd done my 1,000 miles.
And so you'd lost the weight, and then they said the full Monty, and you were like, thank goodness for that, because that means I'm already starting to get fit, ready to do it. So are you a bit shattered at the minute?
Well, no. At the moment, I'm at home. And we're not filming this week. Actually, it'll be the first week we haven't filmed. But you forgot to mention it's on ice.
Yeah, well,
I can't ice skate. Now, it is difficult. I promise you. That ice is very slippery, if you don't know.
I thought you had
And
to
it's
be in
very hard.
balance.
And it's very hard as well.
You've got poise, you've got balance, Bob. You should be a natural.
I am not a natural ice skater, I promise you. I've improved a little bit. I can stand up on it now. But all the rest of them actually can ice skate. So I'm the mug in it. But all these programs like an idiot in it. So I suppose I'm the village idiot.
I can't wait for it to come out. Do you know, are they giving you any ideas, or are we just got to wait and see?
Well, the program will come out in the middle of December, middle to the end of December. It's going to be their Christmas show. I believe it's going to be 2 1/2-hour programs. Right. And the powers that be decided about 2 or 3 weeks ago, because the ladies do one and the men do one. They thought they'd combine the two together. And I think that's worked really well. And we all get on very well. And it takes the pressure off us as well, and them. So I think everybody's happy with that idea, and might just make a better show.
Well, now I know when we spoke, you always said you'd never do Celebrity Get Me Out of Here. Are you now thinking that might have been easier than being on ice?
Oh, good God, a lot easier. There's no doubt about that. I can say one thing about this. You can never get bored trying to be an ice skater, I promise you. But I've been very lucky. Everybody's been good to me, and I've had about 3 lessons, and I've gone from basically not standing on the ice to be roughly skating on the ice for a few yards, actually, without being held up. So, you know, we've got more filming to do, and there'll be more on ice. I don't think I'm going to go and do any pirouettes or anything like that. Just got to do my little bit, which I haven't got a clue what little bit I'm doing. But the show is going to be very, very razzmatazz in a way. I tell you, people they've got involved is diversity, and I promise you they can dance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They're good, and I promise you they're really lovely guys.
It's really about throwing you in the air. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, they're very helpful, especially to me. Perry's been brilliant to me, you know, giving me little bits of advice on how to dance. Well, I've been trying to copy him. I'm not very good.
Because you also said you wouldn't do Strictly either. So here you are on ice dancing.
I don't think I don't know which would be worse, Strictly or that, but I've got no dance moves whatsoever. So Strictly, that's fair enough. On Strictly, I'd have been voted out the first week. That would have been simple. There's no voting out, so you've got to go to the end.
No, I think it'd be brilliant. As you say, it's such a good message to get across to people, is to make sure that they're aware.
That's the whole reason I'm doing the program, and everybody else in the programs. Majority have been hit by cancers and different illnesses through their life, families, themselves, friends, and everybody's there doing it for the one reason, you know, to promote checking your bodies, really.
So last time we got together, I think the trust has raised around about 15 million for male cancer. Are we got above that figure now?
We must be over 15 million now, but things are very hard for all charities at the moment. You know, you can't put on the functions. You know, 2 or 3 of our good functions haven't been able to go take place. Even things like the Shetland Pony Grand National, they always raise 40 or 50,000 for us a year, which is a lot of money. And they're terrific kids. They haven't been able to do it this year. You know, it's hit them just as hard as everybody else. Then we've had the carol service. We haven't been able to have that. The tennis tournaments. and lots of other things. And but I can't complain, or we can't complain, because other charities are in the same boat as us. So basically, we're all got to start thinking of ways when we come out of this of raising money, so everybody will be in business against one another, like all businesses. So you've got to come out with good ideas to raise money and awareness, and hopefully this time next year everything can be back to normal.
I think it's almost like we can kind of wipe 2020 out, can't we? Let's just quickly move on from it and build for something new.
I haven't been racing since Cheltenham, and I can't seem. I wouldn't be positive Cheltenham will be on next year unless there's a big drastic change. And I just hopefully people will abide by the rules. Actually, you see all these marches and everything, but it is proved masks and everything does help. And I just wish people would abide by the rules, and we've got a better chance of getting out of it a lot quicker.
So after the full Monty, then have you got any other plans? Anything going on? I know you've been doing a few bits with Tomo. You've been doing some recording with him at some of the races. You got anything else you're thinking of doing?
Not at the moment, but I'm trying to think of a few ideas with the trust for next year, round Cheltenham time, I suppose. I don't think we'll be doing much before then, and after then we're going to have to work hard and get the money in.
Bake Off?
Wouldn't mind doing it. Mine would be a little bit different. Bob stew or something I would make.
Yeah, I think you can bake stew, Bob.
Well, something like that. Mind you, my mum was an absolutely terrific at baking cakes. She used to, any type of cooking, she was a marvellous at. And I used to, basically, when she used to mix up the mixture, I like putting my finger in it and eating it, actually, before it went into the oven.
If you've got a really sweet tooth, haven't you? I've
got a very sweet tooth. And but Mum, Mum taught us to cook a little bit. Often she couldn't believe me some nights, about 7 or 8 o'clock, I'd go and get the frying pan out, and I'd make banana omelettes and things like that.
That's not good. That's not
good at all. I used to say, I had this thing about banana omelettes. I couldn't understand it.
Did you still eat them now?
I had one not long ago, actually. I hadn't one for 20 years, I suppose. And I did one. I quite enjoyed it.
Oh, no, hot banana, no.
Funny taste I've got.
So did I see you've got a new puppy?
Beg your pardon?
Did I see that you've got a new puppy?
No, that was for my sister.
Oh, Mary's got it.
Yeah, it's a smashing pup, actually. And it's a little bit mischievous, but it's a cracker.
You're not tempted to get one for yourself?
I would if I wasn't so busy. I feel it's unfair on them, being left in a house on their own or stuck in a car. If you can't be with them all day, if I had the racing yard again or something like that, always had terriers then, loved having them about. Maybe if I retire and do nothing, apart from go and walk with the dog, I might have one.
You're never going to retire, we know this.
Well, I don't particularly want to. I like being busy, I must admit, and I get very bored doing nothing, and I'm not a nice person to live with if I'm bored.
So, speaking of not being a nice person, I should leave us with a quote from John Hurt, because this was one of the stories that always tickled me when you were filming Champions. You were often on set, and you'd go down there to consult. And what was John's comment to you?
I said one day, John, you're making me out to be too nice. And he turned to me and said, if I made you out to be what you really like, nobody would watch the film.
Which, you know, we all know you. We know that's not true, is it? That you're a completely different Bob now.
Yeah, I'm a different person now. I'm just so boring.
I know any man that is doing the full Monty on Ice is definitely not boring.
I don't know about that. We'll see.
Well, Bob, it's been brilliant. If anybody wants to get hold of your book, I'm Champion, Call Me Bob. It's available in hardback and paperback, and you can get it from all good bookshops, from Amazon, and it's also available, I think, on your website, isn't it, Bob?
Yes, it is, and hopefully you buy it, and hopefully you enjoy the read.
Brilliant. Bob, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Darren.